John, we are now, like I said, about 2 weeks into the year, and this year is different than any other in Major League Baseball with these new rules. And specifically, the pitch clock, the limiting of the shift, the bigger bases. And I feel like we've had a big enough sample size where I can ask you your opinion on them. So, first off, just as a whole, what have you thought these new rules have done for the game of baseball?
Well, I've always said I love every one of them. I think they're going to have consequences that are going to be phenomenal for the action part of the game that maybe was lacking a little bit. The game was filled with so many superstars, so many great athletes, and so much knowledge and technology that the game started slowing down for a variety of reasons. Philosophically, how they went about playing the game, and from a player standpoint, how they processed the game. So they had to slow it down. And unfortunately, the game got to a point where the rules had to come into play to speed it back up. I love it. The action, we're going to see greatness again. We're going to see great defensive plays again. We're going to see athleticism and speed. It's not going to be like going back 30 years ago, but these guys are different. They're built different. And so they'll learn how to play the game quickly, and it'll be like there was never a rule change in a month. I liken it to when you think about college basketball, and everybody usually gets upset when people make changes in sports and change rules because for one reason or another, they're changing a rule because it exposes something or the commissioner doesn't like something on where the trend of baseball or a sport's going. Mm-hmm. Remember when they put the shot clock in college basketball and everyone was like, oh, man, no one's got a chance. But who wants to see somebody hold the ball for 20 minutes to take one shot? So all these things are coming to sports to enhance whatever the moment of that sport is going through. And this is going to be awesome. And you're going to see great baseball. When I say you're going to see great baseball, you're just going to see more of it. Yeah. You're going to see more action. There's going to be less dead time and less time where people are going to spend on their phones in the stadium, and they're going to be glued into what kind of action is coming up next.
So let's start with the pitch clock specifically, and as it currently sits. One, I guess first let me ask you, do you like how it currently is? Do you think there's any tweaks that need to be made? It's 15 seconds with nobody on base, 20 seconds with somebody on base. Do you like that?
I love it. But here's what people have to understand, okay? That part's not going to be as hard as people think. What's going to be hard is the conditioning that current players have taken in their sport to, let's just talk about throwing as hard as you can, as many times as you can do that. Well, now, when you have a pitch clock, you're going to have to be cardio in shape. You're going to have to really have your legs under you because now you can't do that for 6-7 innings and not be in good shape. Yeah. So that's a big part of the pitchers have always typically always should be in the best shape on your team because they have nothing but time to run and get ready for their start. So closers coming in, throwing 100, that's going to be interesting. Starters who throw at 98, 97, that'll be interesting, pacing themselves within the pitch clock. But I love it. Nothing has to be tweaked. And I promise you, there won't be many violations again. Give it another week, and you will not be talking about many violations on either end of the spectrum.
How would you have done with the pitch clock?
Well, see, we were always promoted to go. I mean, matter of fact, people stepped out more on our pitching staff than ever because we were ready to go. We were taught throw strike one, get the action going, keep your defense in the game. If you throw strikes and you're quick about it, there's no time for any lull, and your defense is going to want to play behind you. Can you imagine Maddox and Glavine taking a minute between each pitch when they're a contact guy and the defense will be on their heels? So that was never going to be an issue. But every player, when they see a rule change, right away their system goes, oh, no, wait. But then they learn how to adapt, and they'll be fine. Unless we're talking about throwing with a different ball, using a different bat, something that is really going to affect the performance, I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal.
What about for you as a reliever? Did you change things up at all, or as a reliever, were you still pretty quick out there on the mound?
Yeah, I still had the same approach. I wanted to get outs as quick as possible. And the thing that's going to change for pitchers is the ability to hold runners on, which hasn't been great because it wasn't a valued commodity. Yeah. Base running was not something, I guess you could say analytically, a philosophy that was employed based on the way that they valued an out and the ability to steal a base. Now that they're enticing that to happen, pitchers who could not hold runners on before are in big trouble. And that is going to be something they either worked on or can do or cannot. And they're going to have to deal with that aspect. As more fast, athletic guys come into the game, that is going to be more and more of an issue. And I'm telling you now, the teams that thought they couldn't compete with the big boys, The running aspect is going to be the way that you make havoc on the bases and havoc on those pitchers and score a lot of runs.
So I know that kind of leads right into another rule, which is the bigger bases. And I know you said you love all of them, so I won't even ask you your opinion there exactly. Bigger bases, we are seeing more stolen bases already. So my question for you comes with some of the rules around it. Are you a fan of the limiting of the pickoffs over, knowing that the more you pick off, if you pick over 2 times, pitcher's most likely not going over, really benefits the runner being able to steal there?
I am, because here's what every pitcher has control of them. Don't let him get on. If you don't let him get on, you don't have to worry about how many times you're limited to throw over there. And this is what we need, though, from action standpoint and strategy, because reality is if you can get on base now, all these things come into play, right? And so if you can't hold runners on, the speed guy's got an advantage. There's a roster spot for him. But more importantly, there's going to be more action in the game in itself, because the teams that put the ball in play now really are going to benefit. Singles come into play. And the defenders that can defend, the defensive teams have an advantage if you got the best athletic defenders in there because no shift. So I think all of these things are going to be outstanding for the game, and you're going to see things we haven't seen in a while, and rightfully so, because the reward system was the way it was, before these rules, and everyone took advantage of it. I don't have a problem with that, but I think what people got to understand is that when the action got limited, that's why the committee and the commissioner went to these rules to try to create more action. It's not that the game or the players were doing anything other than what they were told. It's just the action was limited. And when the action is limited and the time of the game goes up, you're going to have some changes moving forward. And this is what they are, and it's going to be great.